Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick little simple video for DM psychology for appointment setters. This is going to help you if you're booking calls, if you're trying to book more calls, if you're a coach trying to book calls, if you're an appointment setter trying to book calls. These are 20 advanced psychological principles to book more calls, build trust, and increase your reply rates and guide conversations. Okay, so we're going to be looking at building trust, more replies, removing the pressure, and getting people to and understand yes, why prospects commit, understanding why people say yes. Okay, so start the right way. So the first 5 principles set the tone: curiosity, empathy, and listening overall selling. Make them curious. Don't explain everything up front. Ask questions that make them think. Curiosity keeps questions alive. You'll always know that in all of my teachings, I always talk about asking questions and ending the message on a question so that people always feel the need to keep the conversation going. You need to keep the conversation going because you're in charge. You kind of set the tone. And you're the coach, right? You're the appointment setter. It's your job to book the person on the call. So you need to take it into your hands and always keep the conversation going. And the way you keep the conversation going is by always asking a question. Next is to understand them before you sell. So learn their goals, their frustrations. People trust those who truly get them. So no one's going to buy from you if you don't understand them. People are willing to buy from you if they're willing to work with you. And they're only willing to work with you if they trust you and if they know that you understand where they are and where they're at. Okay, so you need to be able to ask them questions so that they can answer and you build more rapport. Okay, if you just go in there saying, hey, I can do this for you, I can do that for you, it's not going to work. You need to ask them questions. Okay, ask more than you talk. The more they speak, the more invested they become. So guide, don't lecture. You're guiding them through the conversation. You want them to speak. You want to ask questions so they speak more. You don't want to be just someone who's talking. Just like a sales call with a DM, like a sales call, you ask questions for 95% of the call, and the last 5% is you talking and explaining and teaching. Usually, it can be different, but you kind of get the point. It's the same with DM setting. When you're sending a DM, you want to make sure you're asking questions for the 90% of the conversation, and then at the end, you actually give value. You can give pieces of value throughout the conversation, but you don't want to give too much information because you don't want to be talking, you want them to be talking. Next is use their own words, mirror their phrases to match their style, build familiar language styles to gain trust. If you see that they're using maybe a little bit of slang, a certain type of language, you want to try and use that as well if it comes off natural because it's going to make you sound similar to them. An example of this is when girls, let's say a women's coaching business, when we manage those accounts for the women, they talk very differently to each other as to how a man would. It's different. They use different emojis, they talk differently, they use different terms of slang. It's very important to be in tune with this because it helps you to close more booked calls. Find the real problem. The surface issue is rarely the real one. Dig deeper. It's almost always emotional. So most of the time, you don't need to get into people's personal lives, but most of the time it's not because people just have a problem they want to solve, like that's at face value. They will actually have a problem which is personal that they want to solve, and that's the reason they want to solve it in their business. Okay, so next, make them curious. Curiosity is the engine of engagement. Once it stops, so does the conversation. Don't reveal everything at once. Leave just enough unsaid to pull them forward. Ask thought-provoking questions they haven't considered yet. Keep them wanting more. Every message should open a door to get them to answer. It should be easy for them to answer as well. So listen first, sell later. Understand before you sell. People trust those who truly get them. Before you pitch anything, learn what they're working towards, what's frustrating them right now, what they've already tried. Ask more than you talk. As I've already mentioned, questions do more than answers ever will. Let them explain their own situation. You learn what matters most to them by asking. They become invested in the conversation. So the best setters, speak less than 30% of the time. So speak their language, find their real pain. Use their own words. Repeat key phrases that they use. Match their tone and vocabulary. Familiar language feels safe to them. Okay, and safe leads to trust. So for example, if someone's always talking about feeling insecure, maybe it's nothing to do with the insecurity, but they always use that language. You can then use that language of talking about the insecurity so that it actually feels personal to them because that's how they've worded it. Find the real problem. What they tell you first is really the whole story. Ask how it affects them personally. The real problem is almost always emotional, and that's what drives action. I'm going to add a little caveat to this by basically saying that you don't always want to get personal with people depending on the niche you're in. If you're in some kind of weight loss or program like that, like weight loss, changing your physique, going like helping people who are in a 9 to 5 job make more money from their home job or from their side hustle or something, you can talk about personal problems, why they want to do this, etc. But if you're talking with someone who's already making like £500,000 a month, you're not going to be like, hey, do you want to buy a new Ferrari, right? They don't care. They just stick to business, I'd say, in that instance. So it depends on the niche. So build belief and authority. Let them convince themselves. Ask questions, help them discover the problem. Their own conclusions is more powerful than you telling them, right? You need to ask questions. This is a skill. You need to learn to ask questions in a way which gets them to arrive at certain decisions, certain conclusions themselves. Build authority naturally. Share useful insights, through the DM. Share insights. Give a bit of knowledge. Ask smart questions. Let your knowledge do the talking. Okay, and show the gap where they are, where they want to be. Make the distance visible. That's where their motivation lives. So keep messages simple. One message at a time. Short messages. Make it effortless to reply. Obviously, it depends. It's all relative what you mean by short. What I mean is, don't make the message too long, like 4 paragraphs long. I mean, you can have a short paragraph followed by a second short paragraph, but the easier it is to read. I'm not saying make it super short. You do want it to have some information in there. You don't just want it to be one word, but keep it enough where you're giving some information and then you're giving them a question to answer. Agree before you challenge. Acknowledge before you redirect. People listen when they feel understood, not argued with. So you don't want to try and debate them or anything like that. You just want to agree with them, right? And then challenge their thoughts. So principles 7 and 8. Create the realization. Let them convince themselves. Claims you make are doubted. Conclusions they reach are believed. Guide them with questions, never push with statements. So what you're saying here, what this is saying is that when you say something, people doubt what you say. When you help them reach a conclusion, they believe it. Because once you arrive at a conclusion, it makes sense and it clicks in their mind. But if you just take them to that conclusion yourself and just slap a statement in front of them, a claim, they doubt it. Show the gap. Paint the contrast between where they are now, where they want to be. When that gap is clear, motivation is automatic. Deepen the desire to change. Visualize success. Ask what life looks like when the problem is solved. Create excitement about the change. You want to do this more with like B2C. B2B, you don't really want to do this for number 1. Cost of doing nothing. What happens if nothing changes? Highlight missed opportunities and the price of staying stuck. So the reason you want to do this is because you want people to realize and actually think, okay, if I don't, like, let's say, for example, someone is unfit and they want to get fit so they can play with their family and do activities and stuff. You might want to say, look, if you don't change, you're not going to be able to go on these do these activities. You're not going to be able to go for a run with your family. You're not going to be able to do these physical activities because it's going to be difficult for you. And do you want that? Like, is that the kind of reality that you want? Is that the kind of reality you choose to live? Because by not doing anything, you're choosing that. But by doing something, by doing this, or by following a path that I'm going to give you, you're choosing to have the other thing. And if you just do and follow the program like everybody else, you're going to have the results like everybody else. If you don't do it and you go away like everybody else who goes away, and they never do it. So which path are you going to choose, right? Obviously not, that's just like off the top of my head, but that's kind of the thing. Relatable success stories. Share short, relevant client examples. People believe people like themselves, so testimonials help a lot. And testimonials who are like them work better. For example, if you're talking to a blonde 28-year-old woman and she's your prospect, then you want to show a testimonial of someone who's similar to her. Because if it's like a blonde, let's say a blonde Norwegian 28-year-old female, and then you show her like someone who's 20, let's say someone who's 35 years old, Indian male, they're not gonna relate. It might kind of work, but it's not really going to be as effective as showing someone who's, hey, look, this person is exactly like you. Because we're human, we're visual creatures, right? So make them feel involved. Ask for their opinion. Build decisions together. People value what they help create. So if instead of asking, like just trying to get yes, 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 yes from them through the conversation, ask for their opinion. It can be organized in a way where you know they're probably going to be like, yeah, I agree with you, but at least it's a conversation. So rather than saying, do you feel like this program would help you, you would say, how do you think your life would change if you follow this program to a T with my help? And they'll be like, oh, well, I can imagine that I would be like this and it would be like this. And you'd be like, yeah, it will be like that, right? So number 5, keep conversations flowing. Build rapport, explore challenges, then lead naturally toward the call. Guide, don't rush. Remember, guys, you're guiding. You're not trying to rush them through and book the call. Some people are so stupid that they just be like, hey, do you want to jump on a call? Without having a conversation. Crazy. And they waste all the leads. Anyway, remove friction, make yes easy. So give them control, never force it. Remind them it's their decision. Freedom builds trust. Be specific. Use real numbers, concrete examples. Vague examples are ignored. Specifics are believed. Genuine urgency. Explain why acting sooner helps. Never fake scarcity. Honesty is the only urgency that works, right? Lower call pressure. Call it a conversation. Focus on finding the right fit. Remove the fear of being sold to. So you want to have a conversations with these people. You don't just want to try and sell them the idea of what you have. You need to figure out, do they need it? And if they need it, you show them why they need this and why not doing it is going to lead them here, and then why doing it is going to lead them over there. And if they keep doing what they're doing, they're going to stay in the same position. Make saying yes easy. Ask for a short call, one small step. Make the call easy. Be like, it's just a 25-minute strategy call, rather than walking you through exactly what you're going to be doing. If we were to work together, all the information is free. So if you don't want to work with me, you can take the information and just apply it yourself. Most people don't do that. Most people end up working together. But if you do want to take the information, you can take it and just use it yourself. And they'd be like, oh, okay, I'm on the call. Might as well just take the call. I'm going to learn something anyway, right? And they take the call, for example. So the best appointment setters always listen more than they talk. Ask better questions instead of giving longer answers. Build trust before trying to book a call. Focus on helping, not convincing. Make the prospects feel understood, not pressured. Asking conversation-like questions. People don't book calls because they're convinced. They book calls because they feel understood and they trust the conversation, they trust the person and believe the next step is worth taking. So they believe it's a step in the right direction. So anyway, that's enough for today. If you like this information and you want to learn more from me, or you want me to do, you want me to hire, train, and manage an appointment setter for you, for your business, coaching business, agency, whatever it is, consulting business, I can do that also. At apexsetting.com, we source, we interview, we train hundreds of appointment setters, we manage them, we're making sure they're putting in the work every day for your business. Or if you want to do it yourself, I can also help you with coaching on how to become a better appointment setter. I've been doing it since 2019. My website's in the description, apexsetting.com, and also my calendar's there if you want to book a call. Take care.